Hands up if you can't hear me. Yeah, that's all right. Well, look, it's fantastic to be back, and I thank you very much for the privilege of being so. I'll be.
We can't hear you, Dave.
I'll be very quick. How do you use it?
You just hold it up. You just like to move.
See, nothing's changed. I had a reasonably average sort of accident. I don't want to over-dramatise it, but it happened in October, and it was very interesting because for me personally, the outcome has been fantastic. So overall, if I look at the long-term thing, it's been fantastic. I'm fine. Actually, there are people that think I've got a neurological deficit from it, but I debate that. Give my wife, but never mind. But no, I was very privileged. I think, and I'm going to go through some aspects of it now, but I think that the thing that struck me, to be quite frank, was a superb service when you're acutely unwell. I say acutely unwell because we'll talk about the subacute bit later in a minute. But I was very impressed of the people's compassion and grace. In fact, the other part that keeps sort of hanging around my memory about the whole process, which was only 5 days as an inpatient, 3 months as an outpatient, is the empathetic graciousness of almost every single staff member. And it reverts back to something that we used to talk about sort of 10 years ago, is had great people but not such a great system. And I want to talk a bit about the system stuff. So overall for me personally, it was a fantastic episode, and I was extremely grateful for all the very hard-working people. So when I got picked off of the road, not far from where Ron lives, the St John's ladies had great delight in telling me with a bit of sort of laughter that I had broken my collarbone and broken my hip. And that's okay, it's not too bad. I'll come right a bit of morphine and fix that away we go. So then we go to ED. I can't remember all of it. But the interesting thing was, and there's 3 things I want to bring out here. One is seniority of expertise. One is continuity of care. Okay. And the other one is medication literacy. Okay. Just because I know Mary's here, I've got to talk about that. So I got in there and I had an X-ray, a plane from X-ray, and the health surgeon, hard-working young man, literally told me I had nothing broken. Now what happened was that the ambulance nurses came back every 4 or 5 minutes and every half hour to find out what was wrong and place bets on when they were going to actually bloody work it out. And that is absolutely true. They were delighted after another X-ray, CT scan, and finally the orthopaedic registrar. And in between here, there's quite a few clinicians. They finally diagnosed what those wonderful ladies who put me off the road got right in the first 3 minutes. And it's very interesting. Experience tells people a lot. I'm not being degrading of the training process, but what it does hit home to me is that there is a lot of worth, a lot of weight given to an experienced clinical person in their field of expertise, specialisation. Is that okay? Up to the ward we go, and I didn't know I was MRSA positive, but I am. And I'm pretty glad about that because I got my own room. The worst part about my own room, I wrote to Grant about this, there was no Sky TV, so but treatment was given, etc., etc. And the interesting, I was in for 5 days, which is about 15 shifts. And as I said before, I couldn't fault the caring and empathetic experience, if you like. I was in a plastic ward, actually, it was quite interesting. I did get found by the orthopedic surgeons, and it wasn't hard, and they came back. But the one thing I thought was quite very interesting was the fact that out of the 15 shifts, I had the same nurse 3 times. And so that caused 2 problems. In fact, I went down the ward when I could walk on a wheelchair, and I asked the nurse, who was one of my nurses there, "You're in the same ward, how come you don't get the same patients?" I thought that would be quite reasonable, and she didn't know. And if she didn't know, I didn't know. Now that's interesting for 2 reasons. One, I soon learned to memorise my drug therapy, because I would have to, well I didn't, my wife explained it to the first 3 nurses, and I sort of worked out this is a good thing, because I've got to get the wrong drugs from time to time. So I memorised my drug therapy. It wasn't very big, it wasn't very hard. Because every single nurse changed a new nurse, and even the one that came on sort of at the end of the day was the one the first day, got it wrong, or struggled, or wasn't quite sure. So you'd have to think that there is something in this continuity care thing. Okay? The other one is I had a bad reaction to tramadol, which apparently happens, and I was sort of working out whether this in fact got in my notes, the drug chart. So I went and sort of asked for the drug, I went and got the drug chart. And I tried to read it, I couldn't read it. No, I'm not as bright as, I've only got 1 engineering degree and he's got 1 medical degree. But I did struggle to understand it. It's not written for me. But tramadol reaction thereof was not in there. So I got that through. It was okay. The other thing that was interesting was that, two things very quickly, and then I'll sit down, is it is easy to get lost in a large tertiary acute hospital. I was wheeled down to x-rays from time to time, and once I was lost. No one saw me for 2 hours. I just sat there. I got a cup of tea. But it's very interesting, isn't it? I wasn't worried because I knew where I was, and I could do myself back and all that sort of stuff. I was actually. But it is interesting that how, as you say, the complex institutions, these are big campuses, these are big areas, right? At the super clinic, it's pretty hard to get lost. Could be, I could manage it, but not many other people could. But I imagine if you were unfamiliar with the Whaanau Middlemore, which is one of the best hospitals in Australasia, as I understand it, then once you get lost, and what do you bloody do? Because I had myself running. But anyway, it was quite interesting because when we were doing the x-ray thingy from time to time, I coined this for hurry up and wait. Because it was all urgent, I had to get down there real quick. I got down there real quick, nothing happened. But still, at the end of the day, x-rays were taken and life went on. The final thing very quickly is the medication era, and my mother comes in here, as some poor physicians know from time to time, with regulus monotony. And it's very interesting how you do need to take, I believe, personally I tell people, when you get into hospital, these people are so busy, they have so much demand of time. Take a bit of personal responsibility. Now I may be an outlier here, and I have a sort of slightly different view from other people about, is the customer always right? I think not, but there's another discussion. But I do think, I certainly encourage you, whether I relate to, take a bit of notice about your care, take a bit of responsibility. I mean, try and work out what you should have when, because it's in your best interest to do so, because people, they are fallible. No, it's not a definition that if you give care, you've got to be totally perfect, never make errors. Everybody has human issues that they've got to deal with, besides what they come in with. They have had a terrible bad, who knows what's happened in the wider spectrum. The second issue I had is, the food was great, everything was great, but I couldn't follow it, I wouldn't want to anyway. I heard quite a lot of people complaining about not getting their cup of tea. It's very interesting because I also think, this is my last thing I'm going to say, is that I personally think you've got to show respect to the clinicians that are treating you if you want respect back. And I know I'm a slight outlier then, but if you want to be rude, abrupt, uncooperative, then maybe you are raising the probability that someone has a normal human reaction back to you. If you want to be treated with respect and trust, and we used to do this all the time when we used to negotiate with the union, which is if you want someone to trust you, you better trust them first, because it doesn't work the other way around. So that's something that we try to do, and I try to talk my mother to do that, which is probably anyway. But overall, very grateful, and to everyone that did have to put up with me, thank you very much. And so far, so good. Anyway.